Alright guys, so our chapter 3 section 3 is going to be about writing equations. We're going to have 2 lessons for this one. The first part is going to be all about point slope form. So 2 big things. By the end of this lesson you're going to be able to find slope given 2 points, and then after that we're going to be able to write the equation of a line, and again we're going to use something called point slope form, which is different than something we've talked about in the past called slope intercept form. Okay, it's probably going to be a little easier to write the equation this way. So to start, we need to know what point slope form is. It's going to be y minus y sub 1 equals m, and then in parentheses x minus x sub 1, where again m, remember, is still representing slope. It's still going to be some number, and then x1 and y1, which are these values right here, are just a given point, meaning they are going to be some number. Okay, y and x will stay variables. Okay, they're not going to change. They're going to stay as y and x. So if I give you some equation, and I tell you, if we find the equation of a line that has slope of 2 and passes through the point -4 and +8, that means that this, our 2, is our m value, and we have -4 is x1 and 8 is y1. So if I rewrite this, I can say y minus 8 equals -2 for m, and then x, and I'm going to change this to plus 4 because it would be minus a negative. So remember that it became plus because it was minus a negative, which is the same thing as a plus. Okay, moving on from that, then we can make it a little more difficult. Now here you see there is no m value. Okay, there's no m value here. You're just given 2 points. So what we need to do in this case, since we can't just plug things in yet, we have to find our m first. And to do that, what we need to use is our slope formula, which you guys have seen in the past. And it's again going to have x1, y1, so that's just going to be some point. We have 1 and 1 because it's our first x and y value. And then x2, y2 is our second point. And we're going to plug it in this formula. So be careful. Your y's are on top, and remember, slope is on top. Our y's are on top because that is rise over run. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. If we look at an example then, for -3, we go back to that. We want to find the slope. So my 2 y values are 6 and -3. So I'm going to write this as 6 minus a -3, or you could write it as 6 plus 3, over my 2x values, x2 and x1. So -2 minus 4. Now, a common mistake here is that we always say x and x in the first point and y in the second point. Remember, it's always got to be x and y. Each point is an x and a y value. Simplifying this, then I'm going to get 9 over -6. Okay, and we can leave it that way. We could also write it as -9, over +6. If we simplified that, we could divide both those by 3. We could say -3 over 2. Any of these would work just fine for what we're trying to do. So now what that tells us is that our slope is 9 over -6. I'm just going to use that first one since we found it. Okay, that's how we would find the slope. If we go back then to that problem, since we just found our slope is 9 over -6, now we can plug into this equation. And it doesn't matter which point I use. I'm going to use these 2 things together to plug in. So I'm going to say y minus a -3 is the same thing as y plus 3 equals, I'm going to change my m to 9 over -6, and then x minus my x value in the point is 4. Okay, this would be the same as if I used this point instead, except for I would write it as y minus 6 equals 9 over -6, and then x plus 2 because it's a negative here. These 2 are really the same equation, and I know that they look different as you look at them right now. If we manipulated them a little bit, we could distribute this 9 over -6 and simplify these a little bit, which is what we're actually going to do in our next lesson. Then you would see that they're the same equation. As it's written right here, that's fine, that's it. They look different, but they are actually going to give us the same line. Okay, so that is it for this lesson. One thing to remember that we're really going to harp on a lot this chapter, and that you're definitely going to need to remember this for this test, so write this down. When we talk about a line, it is, we just define it as the set of all points that are solutions to our equation But really an easier way to think about it is that is a picture of all the solutions to an equation that we have written. Okay, and we could rewrite that equation a bunch of different ways. Anyways, so now you know how to find the slope of a line given 2 points, and you can write the equation in point-slope form. All right, we'll see you next time.